Okay, so you might ask yourself why a teenager is making this video. You have no experience. Some of you may say, yes, I have no experience, but I do have a lot of free time on my hands. And so I've spent the last couple days looking through reports, articles, and studies, or anything else scientific, trying to answer the question, why is marriage broken? And how do you fix it? I'm interested in this because in 10 years, I'm gonna get married. And so I've gotta know how to make it as successful as possible. And through this time, I found a way that you can improve your chances. Interested? Let's start. So what do you think the divorce rates in Western countries are? 10%, 20%, maybe even 30%? No, 50%. 50% in the US, 42% in the UK, 55% in France, and 35% in Germany. And these numbers are still growing. These numbers are not looking too hot. 1 in 2 marriages will fail. And as someone living in the US, I know many of these marriages that don't end in divorce are not functional in any sense of the word. And I could imagine that being the case in these other European countries. This was not the case 70 years ago. 70 years ago, less than 20% of marriages ended in divorce. And in 1900, only 10% ended in divorce. Why is this? Well, there are many reasons and theories, so let us go through them. The first is collapsing religious beliefs. And if this triggers you, just listen to the evidence and then you can make your decision from there. Collapsing religious beliefs' effect on divorce rate makes a lot of sense. Big reason for people getting divorced is people changing their ways or not changing at the same time. You'll definitely hear a lot of this throughout this video. By having a shared belief system, people are less likely to create huge differences from what they once were. You're less likely to have someone just become a feminist out of nowhere, or someone become an Andrew Tate boy out of nowhere if you are both Christian. It also helps that religion creates a stronger marriage. This is because on marriage day, you say the lines, "Till death does us apart," in front of God. Saying something like that in front of God for two people who believe and follow God would probably have an effect on keeping the two together through tough times. Religion also lowers hookups and body counts. This is important, very important for marriage success. Studies show that you go from a 5% divorce rate in the first 5 years if you marry a virgin on wedding day. However, the chance goes to 35% in the first 5 years if your partner has had more than 10 bodies before you. Kinda sucks in today's market. You're probably just gonna have to deal with at least one body nowadays. Religion also promotes pro-marriage values. I remember on a getaway trip with my pastor, his wife said something that actually really made me think about religion differently, which is he wanted to build a man cave in his garage. Us men can probably see why he wanted to do that. And she was like, "What? You're not turning the garage into a man cave?" And then they had like a 10-minute argument. And then she said, "All right, I'm done with this. I'm walking away." And then she just thought to herself, if God wants this to happen, then he'll let it happen. Bam. You skipped like a huge argument and sleeping on the couch. And in case you're wondering, he ended up spending like a couple days on the man cave and then just gave up on it. Us men can also understand that. Or if a man is disappointed in the amount he's getting laid, the Bible calls for women to pleasure their man even when they don't feel like it. Not rape, of course. Compare the expectations you had in marriage 70 years ago to now. 70 years ago, you expected to marry a religious virgin who would have had similar base moral values to you. Not today. Not today. Society nowadays puts societal pressure that are not good for marriage. Common things, women's friends tell them to divorce their man because, quote, they can do better, leading to 75% of divorces being initiated by women. Or think about a man's friends making fun of him for not being laid yet and saving himself for marriage. No bitches? Sorry, I was just being real Andrew Tate during this video. I'm just seeing this now, so I'm gonna add in some more balanced examples. Encouraging having fun before marriage. While perhaps maybe coming across as a classic anti-fun Christian stance, like you learned earlier, having fun before marriage leads to significantly less successful marriages. Plus, what's fun about more advanced people would have been shamed in the past if they broke these taboo rules, men and women. However, today, men are glorified with sleeping with as many women as possible, and women, more and more so, are being glorified. And perhaps the second biggest reason why marriage is so unstable nowadays is political polarization. People find it very difficult to marry and live in the same house as someone who has different political views than them, especially when you bring children into the mix. Picture this. You have a family with a little boy, and the dad's a typical conservative, mom's a typical liberal. The little boy tells the mom on Sunday morning that he doesn't want to go to church today. And the dad's not home, he's at like a work trip or somewhere, so she says, okay, just don't tell dad. And then he tells dad when he gets home. And then there's just a huge fight because this mom let this kid skip church, and obviously the dad thinks that's terrible. This situation is becoming more and more common because young men are very conservative and young women are very liberal, very left-leaning. Imagine one of them goes to a political cause that is at odds with the other person's politics. Not gonna be good. In many ways, this situation creates an opportunity for like a civil war, but that's for another video. 70 years ago, Democrat and Republican candidates would go to either party. You could have someone running for Republican one election and Democrat the next election because the parties were so similar. Imagine that nowadays. AOC running for a Republican seat. Next, there are some big changes in the 70s that we are still dealing with today. During the 70s and 80s, during the Reagan-ish era, no-fault divorce became a widely common thing across the US. Instead of needing a cause for divorce, like unfaithfulness, abuse, anything else like that, you could just get a divorce for no reason. Because you woke up on the left side of the bed, woke up cranky, you could just file for one. I'm not trying to pick at anyone here, but this made it much easier for emotional swings. Though I wonder which side of marriage would do that more to affect the chances of success. Say a woman has a huge swing one morning, she could just start filling out divorce papers. And then you know how people get, then once she would realize maybe she was wrong, then she might want to just stand her ground so she didn't look stupid. Not good. This led to a huge increase in divorce rates, obviously, and that statistic that 75% of divorces are initiated by women. So this means just don't get married, because it's doomed to fail. No, marriage is the bedrock of family. So instead, here are many ways to increase your chances of success. Be religious, marry religious. If you look at studies, they'll say that there's no difference between people who are non-religious and religious. This is misleading, given that people that say they're religious aren't always religious. They just say it for cultural reasons. Make sure the person you marry has the same thoughts and views on marriage as you do. Make sure that you guys also have certain cultural beliefs that are entwined with each other. There's huge differences between the cultural groups that are religious. Example would be that Black Protestants have the highest divorce rate out of any Christian group in the US. 26% of marriages end in divorce for couples that go to church together every week. Pretty good. I mean, 26 compared to 50, I could take that. But less than 1% of couples who pray together every morning file for divorce. And for some reason, only 11% actually pray together. Like seriously, if you want your marriage to be successful, pray together every morning. And you can check out the link in the description to figure out why it's so useful. It's actually a great article. It really made me rethink praying in my life. And don't forget to look for low body counts because virgin divorce rate is 1/2 the chance of 2 partners or more. Reason for this could be because they're less adventurous, less curious, less inclined to seek out other men. I don't know. But I'll leave some articles down below that may give more information. Make sure to take a good look at the person's family. Supporting family isn't necessary, but it sure does help. Make sure that they're supporting your partner with the same values. Make sure she has at least a cordial relationship with her dad, because if it's really bad, then that could be insight on how you're treated. But of course, figure out the situation to know why that relationship may not be great. And vice versa for women. You know, make sure that the man has at least cordial relationship with his mother. Here's a quick list of all the factors I found online that are big for divorce. Too much fighting, too little fighting, which I think is caused by just boredom in the marriage because everything's just working so smoothly. There's gotta be a little bit of chaos. Unequal commitment, infidelity, lack of physical intimacy, lack of emotional intimacy, opposing values, drugs, absence of romance, finances, unclear understanding of marriage. Most sites say that marrying young is the problem. While perhaps that could be the reason, it could also be due to them just not fully understanding marriage. If you follow all of these steps, you've done everything you could with the statistics online to increase your chance of successful marriage. The only next thing you need to do is to date someone and to figure out if their personality can handle you and sustain your marriage. If you can do that, have fun with a happy wife and a happy life. And don't forget to subscribe, as I'm a small channel. I'm gonna take all the help I can get. And make sure to put in the work, put in the hour, and think better. See you in the next one. Also have more highly researched videos, I like that.